Zambia is one of sub-Saharan Africa's most highly urbanized countries. Approximately half of the country's 13 million people are concentrated in a few urban zones strung along the major transportation corridors. This has given rise to the growth of unplanned settlements, commonly known as peri-urban areas, housing the influx of immigrants in search of economic prospects, opportunities for higher education, and higher income. Industrialization, urbanization, and population growth has resulted in an increase in waste generation. This has given rise to indiscriminate waste disposal and, in general, poor waste management practices, as local authorities grapple to service a swelling urban population. In a quest for economic growth, the environment is being degraded, threatening the health and well-being of people who development is supposed to serve. To address this challenge, the government of the Republic of Zambia has put in place comprehensive policies, legal and institutional frameworks to control environmental degradation. In 2011, the Environmental Management Act, EMA No. 12, was enacted. This replaced and repealed the Environmental Protection and Pollution Control Act, EPPCA, No. 12 of 1990, Cap 204 of the laws of Zambia. The EMA continued the existence of the Environmental Council of Zambia, ECZ, and renamed it the Zambia Environmental Management Agency, ZEMA. Administratively, ZEMA operates under the Ministry of Lands, Natural Resources, and Environment Protection. To focus on the Environmental Management Act and the mandate of ZEMA, we are joined by the Director General.
Environmental Management Agency is an agency of government, an autonomous body that was established by the passing of the Environmental Management Act No. 12 of 2011. This institution used to be called Environmental Council before. From 1992 to 2011, it was called Environmental Council of Zambia as a result of the passing of the Environmental Protection and Pollution Control Act 204 of 1990. The passing of the Environmental Management Act No. 12 of 2011 replaced and repealed the Environmental Protection and Pollution Control Act of 1990. And so that's how we came to be known as ZEMA. Our basic functions are to ensure sustainable development in terms of management of natural resources, preventing and controlling pollution. And one of the ways that we do this is through what is called the environmental impact assessment. And this is a process of making sure that any proposed project goes through an environmental evaluation to ensure that all the negative aspects or impacts are mitigated for, and even the positives are enhanced. And so that's one of our major functions. And any project in this country that has an impact on the environment has to undergo an EIA process without exception. Whether it's a government project or whatever, it has to go through an EIA process. We are found in 4 offices. We have, of course, Lusaka, the headquarters here. Then we have an office on the Copper Belt in Ndola called the Northern Region Office, which looks after the northern parts of Luapula, Copper Belt itself, and also Northwestern. As you know, that Northwestern is so-called the new Copper Belt. And then we have an office in Chirundu, a small office of about 6 people. And there, the rationale is that we want to make sure that whatever comes through this country by way of imports, as you would know, 70% of Zambian imports come through Chirundu. And then we have another office in Livingstone, looking at issues to do with tourism, because we know that environment is the basis for which tourism comes from. If we don't have a good environment, you cannot have good tourism. And then also, because Livingstone is a border town, we look at the things that are coming through the borders there, namely the Victoria Falls border, the Kazungula border, and also the Katimamuliro border. there's a common misconception that this institution is there to stop development. Not at all. Any development as it is now, if I may borrow what is been known as the Brundtland definition of sustainable development, it has to walk on 3 legs. The project has to be socially acceptable or should bring about social upliftment. Secondly, of course, it should contribute to the economy of the country. And then thirdly, it should not damage the environment. I think what has happened in the past is that some projects were very good in terms of the social and the economic parts of it. But then you find that later on, the damage to the environment actually far supersedes whatever economic and social gains there were. So this is a very strategic institution, and we need all the support from the public and other sectors.
Globally, it has become apparent that new environmental issues have emerged. These have become the main topic of discussion in numerous fora, locally and internationally. Once a background issue, environmental issues are now undoubtedly dominant.
In Zambia, a number of changes have occurred over the years with regards to environmental management. With a change from the Environmental Protection and Pollution Control Act to the Environmental Management Act number 12 of 2011, we've seen the change, the transformation that has occurred, and it has embraced the broader principles of environmental management. With that, as ZEMA, we've moved and embraced other practices such as integrated environmental management in the broader sense. We've also seen an introduction of other forms of environmental assessment in addition to the environmental impact assessment process, which most people are familiar with, to inclusion of strategic environmental assessment, SEA, and state of environment reporting as tools, as additional planning tools that can be used in the country. Let me also state that in principle, what one of the big realizations in the transformation to the Environmental Management Act is the fact that the environmental issues are evolving. They are much broader than before. We now have to deal with emerging environmental issues such as issues relating to persistent organic pollutants, POPs, the issues of electronic waste, which are a challenge in this country. Agreeably, when you look at some of the electronics that we are dealing with now, such as computers, cell phones, and so on, we have to deal with the challenge of their disposal and so on, and the broader principles of climate change, mitigation and adaptation are issues that we have to deal with as a country.
The general public plays a key role in environmental management. It is for this reason ZEMA ensures that they are kept up to date with environmental developments.
In the Environmental Management Act, the principles of providing information to enhance decision-making in the environmental management process are very critical. For that reason, as ZEMA, we run an information and documentation center, which is a specialized information center on environment. So this service is open to members of the public free of charge. So we would like anybody who's interested in learning more about our role as ZEMA, learning more about other forms of environmental issues that we're dealing with as a country in totality, is welcome to use this facility. In addition to that, we also conduct very wide consultative processes. When there's a development coming up, we also conduct public hearings and meetings to engage with the community and inform them of these potential developments that are coming to their areas, so that we can get people to participate and be aware of what the environmental issues would be arising from certain proposed developments.
Major sources of air pollution are emissions from industries such as manufacturing and mining. This is especially true in areas such as the Copper Belt and Lusaka provinces, where mining and manufacturing are concentrated. The operations of these enterprises cause environmental degradation through pollution of the atmosphere, water, and land. Sulfur dioxide, locally known as center, and heavy metal and particulate emissions from the mines cause widespread air pollution, which has had an adverse effect on vegetation, crops, water quality, and health. At ZEMA, however, we believe that development can coexist with the environment.
As you know, Zambia is a mining-based country in terms of the economy. So the office takes care of all mining activities, ranging from pollution related to water, air, noise, as well as chemical usage. And as you may be aware also, all these processes start through the environmental impact assessment process, and then we license these facilities. So besides the issues related to the mines, we also have support industry. You know, where the mines are, there are also auxiliary activities which support the mining operation. So we have activities related to lime, cement production, engineering related industries, and all these have an impact on the environment. So put together makes up the bigger chunk of basically the industrial activities which have significant impact on the environment. So that's the unique feature of the Northern Region Office. It's in charge of the engine of the country. And some of the unique features of the Copper Belt is that we have operations that significantly impact on the air. You may have heard of lime production, cement production. So there is dust particles which are emitted from there and affect residents as well as the environment. Besides dust-related air pollution, there is also chemical related in the form of sulfur dioxide, and this comes from mine activities, particularly the smelters. They emit a lot of sulfur dioxide if it's not properly captured through the air pollution control system, which are supposed to be installed in their operations. So those are some of the activities that basically cause us to be on our toes on the Copper Belt region to ensure that the mining companies are operating in line with the requirements of the law. Some of the challenges that we have on the Copper Belt are also related to waste management. As you may have seen, a number of, starting with citizens in general, our waste management attitude has not been the best, so to say. We throw litter everywhere, and then again, the collection of the litter or the waste to dump site is also another challenge. We do have actually in the country only one engineered landfill, and that is in Lusaka. The rest of the country do not, basically there are no engineered landfills. So where councils are dumping waste cannot be called, they don't basically qualify to be called landfills or dump site. And as a result, because they dump waste in such environments, then we have pollution related to contamination of land, as well as littering, and also people having access to the dump site, which should not be the case, and that has an impact on the environment as well as on human health. So those are some of the challenges we have even within the city of Ndola.
Invasive alien species are plants or animals that are foreign to an environment. They are called invasive because they dominate in the environment in which they are introduced. A typical example is the water hyacinth, which is found in the Kafue River, Maramba River, and Kafue River. Another example is the Lantana Camara, which is found at the Victoria Falls. The Lantana Camara, fronting the Victoria Falls, affects the view of the falls for tourists. To curb this, ZEMA is currently working with the National Heritage Conservation Commission.
A number of challenges that come with managing a World Heritage Site, such as the Victoria Falls World Heritage Site. One of these is the threat being posed by the presence of invasive alien species. We have quite a number of invasive alien species in the site, and the most prominent one is Lantana camara. Lantana camara is an aggressive shrub that grows easily, that grows quickly, grows to a height of about 1 to 2.5 meters. It easily colonizes areas and invades them, and is able to easily displace the native or indigenous vegetation in the area. So we have that Lantana camara inside the Victoria Falls. However, we are not sitting back as a National Heritage Conservation Commission. We have put quite a number of measures to try and counteract the challenges being posed by the invasive species. We control Lantana camara using 3 methods. So the first method is the manual, the mechanical removal, where we use equipment to cut and uproot the Lantana camara. Secondly, we use chemical control. We have a number of chemicals that we use to control lantana. When we cut off the lantana, then we apply those chemicals on the stalks so as to reduce the possibility of the plants regrowing. The third method is the biological control. We have imported beetles from South Africa called Uroplata girardi. These beetles specifically feed on lantana leaves. They are specific to Lantana camara leaves and therefore do not pose a danger to other desirable plant species. So these species feed on the leaves of Lantana camara, and thereby the plants die. So those are the 3 methods that we use here to control Lantana camara.
The primary mission of ZEMA is to protect human health and the environment from the harmful effects of pollution. This is done through the issuance of permits and other licenses. The agency establishes the boundaries within which activities that have a negative effect on the environment may be safely conducted. Some of the growing concerns with regard to the environment are mainly those of air pollution, water pollution, and the effect on tourism on the environment.
Our responsibilities include issues to do with and to promote tourism, in Livingstone in particular. By that I mean we have to ensure that activities that are developmental are not detrimental to the promotion of tourism in Livingstone. And as a result, we have to ensure that we deal with issues of alien invasive species, such as the water hyacinth in Maramba River, as well as the Lantana camara near the Victoria Falls. We also have to ensure that developmental projects that would want to be situated within the Mosotunya National Park conduct environmental impact assessments so that the park is enhanced instead of being degraded, so that we keep on promoting tourism as a sector in Livingstone, Southern Province, and as a country.
ZEMA believes in a participatory approach to environmental management. This involves conducting stakeholder sensitization fora and recognition of individuals and companies that are committed to environmental reporting and sound environmental management practices through such initiatives as environmental awards. One of ZEMA's Green Award recipients is the Sun International Hotel for its eco-friendly business model, which not only focuses on profitability, but considers the impact of its operations on the environment. This is a true reflection of ZEMA's commitment to promoting environmental stewardship.
We've won several awards in the last, I think, 5-6 years. We've been winning constant awards. such as Enviro Awards, ZEMA Awards, Responsible Tourism Awards. There are several awards that we've won in Zambia and outside Zambia and in the region. We've got the worm farm over there, we've got the herbal garden over there, and where we are, that's where the 3-tunnel hydroponics is. The worm farm, that is the farm that uses waste that we get from the townships, from the township markets. So all that is collected and brought to the worm farm to feed the worms. In addition to the waste we collect from those centers in the town markets, we also feed the worms from the waste within the hotel, all the 3 outlets at the resort. All the waste of fruits and vegetables, all that also comes to the worm farm. And this worm farm, the 2 byproducts that these worms produce, there is the worm tea and then the worm compost. And both of these byproducts are used as fertilizers for the grass, for the plants, for the, as you can see, tomatoes behind me here, for the crops around me. And also, other than here, we use it also in the community. There are some community members that come and buy the compost and they buy the tea and they use it for organic farming out there in the outskirts of Livingstone and Kazungula. From the waste, you can grow almost any kind of fruit and veg. You can use the tea and you can use the compost. And where you can see here, hydroponics, we use waste from the carpenters in town, those ones making furniture in town. We recycle the sawdust. We use it as a media to grow in crops like what you can see here. This is a bag, and what is inside there is a sawdust, and that's a trough, and what is in there is a sawdust from the carpenters in town. So those carpenters, they keep the sawdust for us, we collect, and we use it for planting in crops.
Chirundu One-Stop Border Post is a border post between Zambia and Zimbabwe. It is one of the busiest inland ports in the region, with approximately 300 and 400 vehicles crossing the border each day. Some of these vehicles transport hazardous chemicals, which need to meet global environmental standards. Zambia is a signatory to a number of environmental treaties, namely the Rotterdam, the Stockholm, and the Strategic Approach to International Chemicals Management, SICHM.
The office draws its mandate from Section 66 of the Environmental Management Act, which mandates the office to regulate such activities. Under the same Section 66, the ZEMA is also mandated to control how chemicals are packaged and how they are transported. Being a one-stop, we also work together with our Zimbabwean counterparts. A one-stop meaning traffic that is southbound, we only stop once in Zimbabwe, and traffic that is northbound, we only stop once in Zambia. We don't have to stop twice. That is the one-stop principle. The actual work involves the inspection of the vehicle itself. We must ensure that the vehicle has adequate warning signs to warn the traveling public and other road users so that they are aware of what the vehicle is conveying. We also check the chemicals themselves, how they are packaged. We must ensure that the labeling is done correctly and preferably in a language that is understood by the people. Zambia has also adopted the Global Harmonization System. It's a system of labeling and classification. It's important that chemicals are properly labeled so that the public can know what is on the labels and they can interpret how to use it. And it's also necessary because it acts as a warning to the public that these substances are dangerous. So it's important that these things are adhered to. And the advantage is that it's an international system. You don't necessarily have to know how to read. Just by looking at the symbol, you'll be able to interpret that this is a hazard and this is friendly.
Chemicals being transported need to be properly secured, as failure to meet this criteria could result in spillages and contamination of the environment.
Zambia being a developing nation, we import most of the chemicals. You note that about 90% of the chemicals that are used both in industry, in households, in agriculture, and various other sectors of the economy, are imported into the country. And Chirundu being a strategic point, it accounts for about 60 to 70% of the imports of these chemicals. So it's important that the border is managed so that the importation of chemicals are regulated. The main procedure that we follow as we do the regulation is to ensure that when the declarations are made, we check the declarations. We look at the material safety data sheets, we look at what chemicals have been declared, and then it is followed by a physical inspection. You note that we have one inspection bay just behind. At the inspection bay, that's where we check what the vehicle is carrying and if it complies with all the licensing provisions. Before the chemicals are imported into the country, we ensure that they are registered with ZEMA and they undergo the licensing process so that we know what is coming into the country, and then we issue a license.
To effectively man the Chirundu one-stop border post, ZEMA works closely with Zambia Revenue Authority. This helps ZEMA ensure that the importation of chemicals is managed effectively, safeguarding the environment at large.
One of the functions of customs is to ensure that all the goods that are imported into the country are not injurious or disastrous or things that can harm our people or the environment in Zambia. As customs, we have our computer system called SCUDA, on which parameters have been set and defined to make sure that all consignments containing any form of substance, chemical substance, should first be cleared by ZEMA. So even as we work inside customs, the system will give a prompt just to remind the officer that that particular importation or consignment should first be cleared by ZEMA.
Effective environmental management requires a collective effort. Therefore, there is a need for active participation from various key stakeholders.
One of the provisions in the Act is that of monitoring. When a company has carried out an environmental impact assessment, which has been approved and it has been authorized to carry out its activities, the Zambia Environmental Management Agency then issues licenses for that company to carry out its operations during the lifetime of the operations of the facility. Those licenses are issued with conditions, and every year environmental inspectors from the Zambia Environmental Management Agency go out into the field to verify whether those companies are carrying out their operations in accordance with the conditions of the licenses which they have been issued. This is very important in order to ensure that not only compliance is being followed by the companies, but also for the benefit of ensuring that there is a balance in the management of the environment. One of the other provisions that are found in the Environmental Management Act is that of enforcement. What our environmental inspectors are empowered to do is, as they are doing their monitoring, or if we receive a complaint or a report that there is a company which is not complying with the provisions of the law, our inspectors have to go out and carry out investigations. Once they are satisfied that there is a non-compliance which is not being attended to adequately, then our inspectors have the power to prosecute those offenses. In this way, the Environmental Management Act has enshrined a holistic approach where both the Zambia Environmental Management Agency and all our stakeholders are able to participate in environmental management.
Ultimately, environmental protection is not just a preserve of ZEMA as a regulatory agency. Individuals have a role to protect the environment so that the society in totality is protected.